So getting smooth movement with your drone is the key to any cinematic footage. So in this video, I'm going to show you the trick that I use to make sure I've got the right speed for every drone move that I make. And all this is one simple setting change in the app or on the controller, so you don't have to go into anything complicated in the pro modes or use things like ND filters. Obviously, you can go that step further if you want to, but that's for another video. So I will go through 10 beginner moves you can do using the app or the controller, but obviously you are going to get better results if you do use the controller because you've got more flexibility, especially when it comes to using the tracking options on the controller itself. And before I go any further, if you could do the like, subscribe, notification or the hype button, that would be great. And I'll also tell you which shot that I would never ever use it when I am out filming. So there are a couple of things you need to bear in mind. First one is to try and do all the flying on a windless day if you can. You don't want anything that's gusty because it's going to blow the drone about. The second one is to use grid lines, and these can be found under camera settings. Just switch the grid lines on and you've got a couple of options there, and they can help you position your subject in the center of the frame or on one of the lines for the rule of thirds. Now for some of these as well, if you're using the controller, you want to make sure that you've got cruise control set on, and there's a separate video up here all about cruise control, and you can see exactly how that works, but it will make your life a lot easier when it comes to getting smooth dynamic shots. Now the main thing, as I said at the beginning, when it comes to filming, is always shoot in 60 frames a second. Now you may read places that 24 frames a second is more cinematic, and yes, that's true. But when you're using 60 frames a second, in post-production, it then gives you the opportunity to slow things down by up to 2.5 times. If you film in 24 frames a second, you've got no leeway to slow the film down if you have gone too fast. Whereas, as I said, you've got that option of reducing the speed down by 2.5 times. So always film in 60 frames a second, and then when you need to, you can reduce it down to the speed that you want. If you do film in 24 frames a second and you slow it down, it's just going to give you really jerky and unusable footage. So hand on heart, always film 60 frames a second when you're using your drone. So the first couple are just going to be classic top-down shots. So the first one is just looking at if the drone is still. So you need to have some sort of movement underneath the drone, whether or not it's going to be waves crashing, people moving, or traffic going to and fro. But you need some sort of movement beneath the drone. The second one is going to be top-down shot again, but this time the drone is either rising up or lowering. So you could have a static subject because the movement is going to be caused by the drone moving in altitude. And the third one, again with the top-down shot, is that as the drone is ascending or descending, put in some sort of slight rotation onto the drone, and that again is going to create more interest for the viewer. So as I said, you basically got one position which is top-down. You can have it static with the subject moving, the drone moving, raising up or raising down, and you keeping the subject in the center of the frame, or the drone rotating as you go along. So all three variations will give you some nice shots. So the next one is going to be the push in with the gimbal up. And what this is the drone's going forward with the gimbal initially starting down, and then as you're moving forward, the gimbal will start to rise up to bring the subject into focus. Now what I suggest doing with this is that you go into your gimbal settings and you reduce the gimbal smoothness down a little bit, so the gimbal is a lot smoother as you bring it up. And then using the rule of thirds, just before the horizon hits the top line, stop the gimbal so you've got a nice smooth elevation, and then it'll come to a nice smooth stop just on that line of thirds. So you've got a lot of the subject in the bottom, which is exactly what you want. The next option we got is going to be the orbit. Now with an orbit, again, you've got a couple of different varieties. The first one is going to be a plane orbit, where the drone will just go around the subject, keeping it in the center of the frame. And you can do this by selecting the subject by drawing a square around it and then pushing left or right on the right stick, and the drone is going to move round in that direction but keeping the subject centered. The next way to do it is to select the subject and then use the arrows on the screen to control the speed and the direction of the drone. Now I would tend to go for a medium to fast speed for the rotation, and there's a number of reasons for this. The first one is if the drone's moving fast, it's going to be less prone to gusty winds. So you will get a smoother rotation if the wind does pick up than you go in at a slower speed. And the reason we do this is, as I said earlier, if we film at 50 frames a second, it means that we can slow the footage down by 2.5 times in post-production. So even though the drone may be going too fast, you can slow it down dramatically in post, and that's going to give you a lot smoother effect of you going around the subject. Now, it's very rare that when you do see people doing orbits, you're going to have an orbit going around the subject for a full rotation. It's normally only little segments. So even though the video is going fast, slowing down in post-production is going to be beneficial for you. So always film everything in 60 frames a second. So moving on from the orbit, you've got spiral. Now you can do this using the app, but it means you can only use yourself as being a subject, and it's just going to do one rotation. Whereas if you're using the controller, it can be a lot more complicated, but still you're going to have much more control and you're going to get better results. Plus you can use other items as subjects. So you're going to start off by moving the right stick left or right, depending on the way you want the drone to go. Now, if you push the stick up towards the upper left or upper right, this means the drone is not only going to be revolving, but it's also going to be moving further away. And then if you push the left stick upwards, the drone's also going to rise. So that's going to give you a nice spiral around your subject. And again, film in 60 frames a second because you can slow it down and get a much smoother result. And this is the point where I say I'm not sponsored, so if you would do the like, subscribe, notification or the hype button, that would be great. There's also the option there to buy me a coffee or to do a super. If you'd like to do that, that would be greatly appreciated too. Any funds I get from that are going to go straight back into the channel for buying new drones as they come out, because I know DJI are releasing another new one in the next couple of weeks, so that would be greatly appreciated. Now, the next one is a straightforward classic reveal. Now, with the reveal, the drone goes behind the subject, and then as it rises up, it's going to bring the main subject into focus. Now, when I do reveals, I tend to use either sport mode or normal mode, and the reason for this is, as I said earlier, I'm filming in 60 frames a second, so that means I can slow it down dramatically to exactly what I want. Whereas if I use cine mode, the drone's going to be moving too slow. So the minimum you want for a reveal is going to be normal or even sport mode, as I said, because you can slow it down in post. That's going to give you the best results. And then we've got the classic zoom out. Now, with the zoom out, you can do the app, and that's going to give you some nice results, but you're going to be limited with having you just as the subject. Whereas if you're using the controller, you're going to have a lot more flexibility. So again, you select your subject either by drawing a square around it, or if you use the little icon on the left-hand side of the screen, that's going to bring up the options of what you can actually track. So when you've got your subject selected, you want to pull back on the right-hand stick, and that's going to move the drone backwards away from the subject, and at the same time you want to be pushing up on the left hand stick, and that's going to raise the drone up. So again, that's going to give you that motion of the drone flying away as well as rising up. So then we've got the tracking options. Now, when it comes to tracking, there's a number of ways you can use the drone to give you some really good results. The first one is just going to have the drone tracking you either behind or the side or whatever, and that's great for things like if you're out running, jogging, whatever. Another way you can have it is where the subject is actually stationary. So say, for example, you are filming a building, you can select that building as the main subject, and then as the drone approaches the building, the gimbal is automatically going to move down to focus on that as the subject. And that's a nice way to draw the viewer's attention onto what you actually want to show them. And again, in reverse, you can have the subject start off as the main center of the frame and then have the drone traveling backwards, and that's going to bring up the wider environment into the scene. So it does mean that you can have quite a difficult operation, but it's going to be really simplified just by selecting the subject and then moving the drone backwards or forwards, depending on which way you want the subject to appear. And if you are using the controller, you can also use the active track. Now with the active track, it does allow you to position the drone from left to right or up and down, depending on where you select on the controller. But it's not something I use a great deal when I'm out filming for cinematic shots. It's fine just for filming myself, but if I want to do something which is more cinematic, I would rather use the normal tracking mode and just move the drone manually as opposed to having it flying from one position to another. For me, I would only really use it for repositioning the drone if I did want it to go from the front to the side rather than having to stop everything. So again, use this with caution. Use it more as a repositioning tool, as I said, not for the actual movement itself. Now, as I said at the start of the video, you had a move which was the push in with the gimbal up. Well, you can do the same in reverse. So this is the pull back with the gimbal up. So again, you start with the gimbal looking down, you move the drone backwards, and as the drone is flying backwards, you then start to lift the gimbal up. So it's going to bring the scenery back in to make it more expanse and wider on the screen. And again, this is great for things like landscapes or anywhere where you want to show how small something is in relation to the area around it. Now, another nice shot is going to be the flyover reveal. And this is basically where the drone is flying forwards or backwards with the gimbal facing down. The subject's not in view, but as the drone moves through the frame, then the subject's going to appear and then disappear. Now, this is going to pique the viewer's interest because they're not going to expect the subject to appear. But I would use it sparingly because you don't want endless footage of things appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing right the way through. So once, maybe twice in a footage is going to be enough. Now, there is one shot which I would never, ever, ever use, and that's going to be a panoramic shot. And this is where the drone is just going to be moving around its axis, left to right, or vice versa. And this is because they're either going to be too fast, in which case the viewer is not going to be able to concentrate on what's going on, or they're going to be too slow, in which case there's no real point. You might just as well use some sort of other movement where the drone is moving backwards or forwards, or they're going to be too close to something, and again, you're not going to get the detail in. It's just going to make people feel dizzy, or they're going to be too back and you can't notice the movement. So unless you desperately need to use a panoramic shot, I would never bother doing panoramic. They are just a total waste of time. So those are just some of the basic shots you can do. Obviously, it's going to depend on your individual circumstances, and there are going to be ones that I haven't covered. So what shot do you prefer to use the most? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, well, I hope you found it useful. If you did, if you could do the like, subscribe, notification bell, and the hype, that would be great. As I said earlier, there's the option there for buy me a coffee or a super. That would be fantastic as well. The main thing I hope you got from this video though is the fact that you always want to film in 60 frames a second. That's my main tip for the video overall. Everything else you can do with practice, whether or not you're using the app or using the controller. There are really simple ways that you can do some really complicated moves. You haven't got to worry that you are using the app. If it gives you the result you want, then do it. Anything for an easy life is always best. So that's the video. If there's anything you want to see in relation to anything on the DJI Neo, the Neo 2, the Mini 4 Pro, the Mini 5 Pro, the Hover X1 Pro or Pro Max, let me know in the comments below. Also, any questions in relation to any action cams, anything you want to see in the future, again, let me know and I'll do my best to help you out. Thanks for watching. Bye.